Today, we're going to jump in a time machine and look at a paper from 1960. Now, I know what you're thinking, 1960? But get this, it's so shockingly predictive, it basically lays out the blueprint for our entire digital world. It's called Man-Computer Symbiosis, and it's a peek back to the absolute dawn of interactive computing. But first, just take a second and think about how you work, right? When you get stuck on something, what do? You search for answers online. You might pull up a spreadsheet to play with some numbers. You use software to design, to write, to create. It's this constant back and forth, this partnership with your machine. Now, what if I told you that this seamless, almost instinctual dance between you and your computer was envisioned in detail all the way back in 1960? We're talking about a time of room-sized mainframes that you fed with punch cards. It sounds absolutely wild, but it's true. So where did this incredible vision even come from? Well, you might be surprised. It wasn't some sci-fi dream. It was born out of pure frustration. The author, a brilliant guy named J.C.R. Licklider, actually sat down and analyzed his own workday and found a huge, infuriating problem. He came up with this number, 85%. And what was it? It was the amount of his precious thinking time that he wasn't actually spending on, thinking. And this is where it gets really interesting. Licklider realized that a whopping 85% of his time was eaten up by what he called clerical or mechanical work. Stuff like searching through books for data, plotting graphs by hand, doing endless calculations. That left a measly 15% for the stuff that actually mattered, the creative leaps, the real insights. He just knew there had to be a better way. And his solution was this revolutionary idea he called Man-Computer Symbiosis. Now, this wasn't about AI taking over, and it wasn't about using computers as glorified calculators either. No, his idea was something way deeper, way more profound. He actually borrowed a term from biology to explain it, symbiosis. A super close, cooperative partnership between two totally different organisms. A partnership that lets them do things together that they could never, ever do on their own. He imagined a future where our brains and computers would be so tightly connected that they'd basically act as one single powerful thinking unit. And he used this brilliant analogy to drive the point home. He talked about the fig tree and a very specific little wasp. See, the tree absolutely needs the wasp to pollinate it, and the wasp literally can't survive without the tree. They are completely dependent on each other, and because of that, they create this incredible, thriving ecosystem. That, Licklider argued, is what our relationship with computers should be like. You have to understand, this was a radical idea for the time. Back then, everyone saw computers as just another tool, part of the mechanically extended man. A computer was like a faster hammer or a more powerful telescope, just something to extend our physical abilities. But Licklider's vision? That was totally different. He saw a partner, not a tool you command, but a collaborator you could actually think with. Okay, so for this partnership to actually work, Licklider said there needed to be a very clear division of labor. Each partner, the human and the computer, had to do what it does best.
And here's the breakdown. We, the humans, we'd handle the big picture stuff, setting goals, asking the really good questions, making those creative, intuitive leaps that machines can't. And the computer, it would handle all that grunt work, that 85% problem. It would do the crazy fast calculations, plot the data in an instant, and take care of all the routine tasks that bog us down and get in the way of real thinking.
Of course, in 1960, the technology for this was pure science fiction. It just didn't exist. But here's the amazing part. Licklider didn't just dream about it. He laid out a roadmap. He identified the 5 biggest technical hurdles we had to get over to make his symbiotic vision a reality.
So, these 5 hurdles were the huge speed gap between us slow humans and super-fast computers, the insane cost and physical size of memory, figuring out how to organize all that information, the massive language barrier between how we think and how machines work, and finally, the ridiculously clunky equipment we use to talk to them. This list basically became the to-do list for an entire generation of computer scientists.
And this is where the story gets really mind-blowing. Because that to-do list from 1960, it got done. Every single item on it was checked off. We are literally living in the future that Licklider imagined. Let's just walk through how each of those hurdles got solved.
All right, hurdle number 1, the speed mismatch. A single computer in the 60s was unbelievably fast, but it was also unbelievably expensive. Way too expensive for just one person to use in real time.
Licklider's solution was an idea called time sharing, where lots of users could share one powerful computer at the same time. Sound familiar? It should. That idea evolved directly into the server networks and, yep, the cloud computing that powers our entire lives today.
Next up were the memory problems. Licklider knew that for a computer to be a real partner, it needed access to a gigantic library of information. And that library had to be both affordable and organized in a way that you could find things fast.
And well, we solved that, big time. Decades of innovation gave us everything from hard drives to SSDs, making storage insanely cheap and plentiful. And brilliant software gave us searchable databases and indexing. You know, the magic that lets you find pretty much any piece of information on the planet in under a second. Now, the fourth hurdle was a huge one. Licklider pointed out that we humans think in terms of goals, right? Like, find me the best route to the airport. But computers back then only understood rigid, step-by-step instructions. They didn't speak the same language, not even close.
So we built a bridge. We created high-level programming languages that are way closer to how we talk. And, even more importantly, we built search engines that can understand our intent. When you type a question into a search bar, you are speaking that goal-oriented language that Licklider dreamed of.
And finally, there was the interface. In 1960, you talked to a computer with punch cards and clunky teletypes. Licklider said we needed something as fluid and natural as a pencil and doodle pad.
And what did we invent? We got the graphical user interface, the mouse, and eventually the touchscreen. These things created the direct, visual, and intuitive interaction that Licklider knew was the key to a true partnership. We finally got our digital pencil and doodle pad.
So, think about it. The next time you're working on a Google Doc with a teammate, or searching for the answer to a tricky question, or just sketching out an idea on your tablet, remember you are living inside a vision that was laid out more than 60 years ago. Licklider's symbiosis isn't a prediction anymore. It's just our reality. Which, of course, leaves us with one heck of a question. If this is the partnership he imagined, what does the next level of man-computer symbiosis even look like?